Hello. Today we'll focus on politeness. First, you'll hear 3 short dialogues in Polish and Norwegian, and then we'll discuss certain aspects of politeness in those languages. Kochana, tak mi głupio. Zapomniałam portfela. Musiałam go zostawić w innej torebce. Ale nic się nie stało. Ja zapłacę. Dzięki. Następnym razem ja zapraszam. Å nei, jeg glemte lommeboken min hjemme. Tror du kan låne meg penger? Det går helt fint. Jeg skal ta regningen. Hvis du gir meg kontonummeret ditt, så skal jeg overføre pengene. Ikke tenk på det. In Norway, there are specific rules in the labor law on when and on what occasion you can take a day off. When you work for the state or a commune is the equivalent of a municipality, a council, or a local administration, you can't take a day off because you have a friend's wedding. When you work for private entities, you can arrange with your boss a day off if it doesn't interfere with the company's business. In Poland, everything depends on your boss, actually, and your relationship with him or her. It's usually more flexible to take a day off because of certain social occasions. Dzień dobry, panie Tomku. Czy mogę na chwilę? Dzień dobry. Jasne. W czym problem? Chciałabym poprosić o 1 dzień wolnego za 3 tygodnie. A czy to coś ważnego? Cóż, moja przyjaciółka wychodzi za mąż. A, to bardzo ważna okazja. Ale widzi pani, mamy teraz mnóstwo pracy. Ale pomyślimy. Dziękuję bardzo. Hei, Thomas. Er du opptatt? Hei, bare kom inn. Jeg lurer på om jeg kunne ta fri 19. mai. Bestevenninna mi har bryllup, og jeg har blitt invitert. Tror du det går greit, eller? Du sa 19. mai? Det hadde gått greit om vi ikke hadde styringsgruppemøten den dagen. Det var dumt. Men kanskje du rekker etter det? Ja, jeg skal prøve. In Norway, you are obliged to let somebody know if you are coming late or not coming at all. This rule is strictly obeyed both in the professional and social life. Witam pani Aniu. Jak się udała impreza? Dziękuję. Było przesympatycznie. Ale pani z nami nie było. Tak, wiem i bardzo przepraszam. Miałam do pani zadzwonić. Byłam zawalona robotą i zupełnie nie miałam czasu. Rozumiem. Mam nadzieję, że następnym razem będzie pani mogła. Może wpadnie pani do mnie na kawę jutro po południu? Bardzo chętnie. O 17:00? O 17:00. Zatem do zobaczenia. Do zobaczenia. Hei, Anne. Hvordan går det? Hvordan var det på festen? Hei, det var kjempekoselig. Synd at du ikke fikk være med. Jeg fikk SMS-en din forresten. Ja, jeg skulle ønske jeg kunne få være med, men jeg hadde så mye å gjøre. Er alt bra på jobben? Ja, det er det, men akkurat nå er det ganske hektisk. Bare ring meg når du har mer tid, så tar vi en kopp kaffe sammen. Jeg skal gjøre det. Vi snakkes. Ha det. Ha det. Let's talk about politeness in Polish and Norwegian. In Polish, how polite you are depends on who you talk to and what relationship you are in with that person. Do you know that person on the private ground or on the professional ground? The Polish society is hierarchical, and we still use a more polite form to keep a social distance and show respect to adult strangers of the same age or older, or to people of a different rank or position. In Polish, we use pan, sir, pani, miss or Mrs., or państwo, ladies and gentlemen, which are the equivalents of Sie in German, ustedes in Spanish, and die in Norwegian. Whether to use these forms or not depends on if we know the other person on the informal ground, and in many cases for how long we've known him or her. There is a tendency, though, in professional relations that more and more people, especially of a younger generation, call each other by their first names rather than by the formal form pan, pani, or by titles. But again, in official formal contexts, even those who know each other very well will address each other more formally in public. What's interesting to observe is when we use the formal form pan, pani, we use the person's first name, not the surname. So we say Panie Tomku, Mr. Tom, or Pani Aniu, Mrs. Anne. The Norwegian language has as well a more formal form, D, spelled D-E, and written with a capital D, which refers both to one person and a group of people we don't know on the private ground. This form is still used by the older generation in a very formal written correspondence in a bureaucratic language, though it's becoming less and less popular nowadays and is being replaced by du, the equivalent of the English you in singular. Norwegians are more informal, and even at work in the relation boss-employee, and use their first names when they address each other. In Polish, there are special words that express politeness, like dziękuję, thank you, proszę, here you are, or please. In everyday life conversations between close people, Polish politeness is expressed with imperative sentences. Podaj mi gazetę, literally, give me the newspaper. Zaraz, in a moment. Masz, literally, have it. Properly, here you are. Dziękuję, thank you. Some Polish milden the imperative with the word proszę. Podaj mi proszę gazetę. Imperative sentences in Polish serve both as orders and requests, and it's the tone of your voice that tells the audience whether it's an order or a request. How polite you are depends on your family background. In Polish, there is a saying that a redneck will always be a redneck, which means that your origin will give you away in social situations, no matter how much formal education you have, what social position you have, or how much money you have. Though, compared to the English, the Polish are more direct in addressing their requests and leave no room for the other person to make a choice. As for politeness in Norwegian, the Norwegian language and Norwegians may be perceived as rude by some foreigners. You don't need to attach the word please to almost every sentence when you ask for something, as in British English. You can just say, kan du gi meg avisen? Can you give me the newspaper? Although you have in Norwegian the English equivalent of please, du snill, vær så snill, it's not used that much in everyday situations. You usually express your request with kan du, can you, or by a more polite form using a conditional. Det hade varit flott om du kunde hjälpa mig. It'd be great if you could help me. Mark that in Norwegian we use the English equivalent of past perfect in the first part of the request. Det hade varit. Literally, it had been. Other polite words are tack, thank you, tusen tack, many thanks, tack skal du ha, or tack skal de ha, literally, I owe you many thanks. But again, Norwegians don't thank for every single thing. You don't thank when the waiter brings you your food in a restaurant, or when you get service in a place you expect to get it. What's interesting to observe is that Norwegians use the word tack, thank you, where in English we use please. For example, vill du ha kaffe eller te? Would you like tea or coffee? Kaffe, tack. Coffee, please. Vill du ha mer kake? Would you like some more cake? Ja, tack. Yes, please. On the other hand, Norwegians in general aren't direct and don't like confrontations at work or informal situations, and instead of saying directly to you what they mean, they will beat about the bush. For example, the boss seeing his employee reading a newspaper and not working. Jeg skjønner at avisen er ekstra spennende I dag. I can see that the newspaper is extra riveting today. Or the boss to an employee coming late. Fikk du sovet godt? Did you sleep well? But in reality, in both above situations, the boss is frustrated and irritated. It's important to notice that there are differences among Norwegians in how they are or how they react, depending on which region of Norway they come from. Norwegians from northern Norway are said to be more direct and to the point.